As I'm going to show you how to work one of the problems that are similar to what you'll see on the quiz. So whenever you get your quiz, you may see a problem like this where you'll see a graph that'll have some points on there, and then it will ask you to find the domain and range. Okay? Now I went ahead on, just for the sake of saving time, and I added the X and the Y on here. If you are struggling with the direction of the X and the Y, you should have that on your notes. So please make sure and put that on your test whenever you are working the problem to kind of help remind you. And then remember that going left is negative and right is positive on the X-axis, and then up on the Y-axis is positive and down is negative, okay? So the first thing you want to do, because one of the problems is just going to ask the domain and range. An easier way to do that, or where to start, and I'm sorry I'm going to have to cut that Y off, I'll tell you as I go, is to find the ordered pairs. Okay, it just kind of makes it easier. So let's do this one right here first. And it may be helpful if you go ahead and kind of draw. What I do if I'm having a hard time seeing it or tracking it with my eyes, is I'll just kind of draw a line to the X-axis so that it's just easier to count that way. So from here, I'm going to start at the origin, and the point is to the left. So I'm going to count over how many spaces. 1, 2. Okay. So we went on the X-axis 2 spaces, and right here it says we're in the negatives. So that is going to be a -2. So I'm just over here, I'm going to write down the ordered pairs. And you don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I'm doing it just because that's the way we're supposed to do it. So -2 on the X, and then we're going to go 1, 2, 3 up to get to that point on the Y-axis. And we're going up, it's a positive. So we went up 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to have a +3. Okay? So now I'm done with that one, and I'm going to go to this point. It doesn't matter what order you do the points in. I'm just going straight across. So from here, I'm going to draw a line down here. You don't have to do this if you don't need to. I tend to need to do that. Okay, so from here, starting at the origin, I'm going to go to the right to get to the point. 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces to the right, and it's a positive. So my X is going to be a +4. And then from here, I'm going up, so it's going to be a positive number, and that's 1, 2, 3. Okay, next ordered pair, I'm going to go to this one right here. I'm going to change the color for the highlighter because I think that might make it a little bit easier if I switch the colors. So here, I'm just going to draw a line from the point to the X-axis, so I'll know how many to count. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 again. Okay, so that's going to be a +4 on the X, and we go down 1, and that is on the Y-axis, and you can see that it's negative, so it's going to be a -1. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to my next and last point. I'm going to draw my line up to the X-axis, and now I'm going to count. Let's see, we go to the left 1. Going to the left, 1's going to be a negative number, so I'm going to be a -1 on the X, and then I go down 1, 2 spaces, and since I'm going down, it's a negative number, so -2. Okay, 1, 2. All right, now I'm going to close that up because we're done. We've done all 4 points. Now we're ready to find the domain and the range. Remember that the domain is the X values. Okay, so I'm going to look over here, and I'm going to find all of my X values. So I've got the -2, 4, 4, and -1. And remember, whenever you're doing the domain and range, you need to do these from least to greatest. And then also we don't repeat any numbers. So we have a -2, 4, 4, and -1. We're only going to use 1, 4. And now you have to figure out what has the least value. Okay, -2 is going to have the least value of the other two. So we've got, and you're going to do those little squiggly line brackets, got -2, and then we have a -1, and then we have the 4. Okay, we're done with that one. Now we're going to move on to the range, which is the y values. And let's see, I'm going to underline the y values just to make it easier for you to see. Okay, now, so 3, 3, -1, -2. I see that we have the 3's repeating, and you don't repeat values for the domain and range, so I'm just going to mark one off so I don't accidentally do that. So from least to greatest, I've got a -2 is going to be is the least value. So squiggly line brackets again, and I've got a -2, let's see, -1, and a 3. Okay? And that is it. That's all you have to do for this relation, okay? And remember, this type of graph is called a discrete graph. It does not connect at the points. All right, hope this helped you guys.